meet you properly rather than just on the internet.
rather than online. Yep.
It's so
So
weird
lovely to
these
meet you
days.
too. It's just everybody gets connected through the internet. Like everybody, you kind of end up talking to people like you almost know like their whole story and everything about them because there's so much information on the internet. But I love it. I get a chance to connect with people that I probably wouldn't ever get a chance to connect with otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually talking to my brother about it this morning and just saying how it's kind of cool because like doing things like this, I can, we can really talk about like your story and where you came from because I feel like sometimes like I love Instagram, don't get me wrong, but it's so curated, like
Oh,
you only
100%.
really get to see what people want you to see. Um,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, can be misleading, I think, sometimes.
Oh, like you get to dictate what goes out there. You get to dictate what people see and what parts of your life you get to actually show to everybody. It's very unrealistic.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not the reality of the world we live
No, it's not, but still very grateful
in.
for it. Like I literally wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for Instagram, which is crazy. So,
Uh,
grateful for that.
yeah, it
But
has its ups and downs, that's for sure.
yeah, definitely, definitely. It is a roller coaster. Holy moly.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so let's just start by just like I guess tell me a little bit about your background and what brought you to like being the first female Australian to win the ADCC. You won absolute and under 55, right?
Yes, yeah, I
Yeah.
won absolute under 55 as well. But yeah, I'm the first Australian male or female
Oh, male as
to
well. Wow, that's amazing.
yeah.
Congratulations. That's so epic. It was a great
Thank you
weekend
very much.
that weekend for women in
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu was just like so good.
It was good that the women of jiu-jitsu could try and steal the show a little bit, which
Yeah.
was really cool. And it was cool to have ADCC back us the entire way. They're really fighting towards getting more divisions for us and more female competitors and equal pay and all that kind of stuff. So there were definitely some big jumps between last ADCC and this ADCC, some massive improvements in the female divisions, which is, you don't see all the organizations out there doing it, but they're definitely doing it.
That's so cool. Because was it the
Yeah.
first year that the under 55 kilo division was a thing?
Yeah, so the ADCC in 2022, there were two divisions. There was below 60 and then above 60, which yeah
Brutal.
is it's brutal. Like if you sit right on that mark of like 65, then you're doing a crazy weight cut, or like you're sitting at 67, 60. I saw some insane weight cuts that year of
Yeah.
people just trying to lose, a large, not even just a lot of weight, but a lot of percentage of their body mass. So
Yeah.
it's like, you get an 80 kilo person, or let's say a 120 kilo person lose 10 kilos. That's not the biggest proportion of their body weight. You can put it somewhere around the 10% mark, like
Yeah.
10% of their body weight. Whereas you get people that are sitting towards like 67 kilos that are losing close to 10 kilos, that
Yeah.
is close to 20% of their body weight. It just becomes a numbers game of just insanity.
Yeah. And then like obviously your performance is going to take a bit of a hit if you're
Mm.
making that much of a cut. That's crazy.
100%. Yeah. So it just becomes like it just becomes unsafe to have such a big weight division. And then you obviously get so much variation in the plus 60, where you get like people that are plus 60 where they're sitting at 75 or 85, or close to 90, close to that 100 kilo mark, and that's insane. And then under that you get people that are cutting down to just below 60, but you also get rooster weights that are sitting and walking around at like 49 kilos. So
Oh, man.
what do you do with them? It's just you just can't win with that.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be tough. Well, I'm glad that there
Mm.
is that division now for you guys. That's so
Yeah.
awesome. But yeah, so fill me in. Like, where did you start? Where did you come from? What led
Born
you
and
to?
bred in Melbourne. Born and bred in Melbourne. Was doing sports for my entire life. So I started, I did all the classic Australian sports stuff, which was like AFL. I did swimming. I did tennis. Like all the stuff that you kind of learn hand-eye coordination and all those skills. And my parents were pretty good at encouraging me to stay active. And pretty much if I had a passion, they'd be more than happy to drive me to training. My brother started doing soccer, so then I started doing soccer. It was that kind of thing. I was always doing sport. My parents were always driving me around, like dropping me at some kind of afternoon sport. Yeah, I was a nightmare, I can imagine, for my parents. But when I was around about 10 years old, 9 or 10 years old, I decided that I wanted to be a police officer, made that
Oh,
decision. That was going to be
cool.
my career path. I dug my heels in. That was what was going to happen.
At
So
9 or 10, that's, that's
9 or
early.
10, I decided that that was going to be the rest of my life. I'd made that decision. So I kind of did some research on just a martial art place that was near me. Didn't look at anything specific. If there was a Krav Maga place down the road, I would have gone there. But there happened to be a jiu-jitsu place that was near me, so I happened to do jiu-jitsu. But the coach there was incredible. He was a really, really good kids coach and just coach in general. His name is David Christopher. He now owns a gym called the Academy, which I think is in Camberwell. But he kind of sparked my interest, played a lot of games with us, kept it really interesting, but also gave us like really good like foundational knowledge. So the armbar that he taught me when I was 10 years old is like from closed guard is more or less the armbar that I do nowadays when I'm a black belt. So
That's so cool.
set the baseline pretty good, but I had some incredible coaches at Dominance, which is the first gym that I trained at, Dominance MMA. Now there's a few different locations that are scattered. There's one in Abbotsford and Thomastown and Bentley, but at the time it was just that one in Richmond. There weren't obviously at the time there weren't that many gyms even available in Australia in
Yeah.
the first place. Jiu-jitsu was tiny.
Yeah, it would have been. Well, how old are you now?
24, turning 25 tomorrow.
So, oh, really? Happy birthday for tomorrow. Wow.
Thank you. I
Um,
can finally rent a car in America and not get a young driver's fee.
that's so good.
That's what I
The
think
things
about 25.
yeah, that's so good. Yeah, so that would be like 15, 16 years ago.
Yep.
So yeah, jiu-jitsu would have been pretty small then, especially for
Oh,
girls.
it was tiny. Oh, tiny. There was like having a born and bred black belt female back then was just unheard of.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, there was not many of them, and then the ones that were floating around, like they were these, we would like unicorns. They were
Yeah.
you would hear about them, but you'd never see them because there were just so little of them at the time.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, through a few generations, there's a lot of female black belts that are scattered through Australia. So there's a lot more depth in the female community in Australia now, which is very, very cool to see. And it's been really cool to like be a part of that and kind of see the progression and see the access that this next generation now have. And they almost don't understand how lucky they are and how
Yeah.
privileged they are to have that access. But it's really cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, cool. So so you were, what did you say? You're about 9 or 10. That's when you
Yeah.
started. And then and you obviously changed gyms, you said, to the did you call it the dominance one?
So I was always from Dominance.
Oh,
So
sorry.
started off in Dominance. David Christopher, who was the very first coach that I had, was part of Dominance for a while, but then ended up he wanted to open up his own space, so he opened up a gym called the Academy in
Oh,
Camberwell,
the
which
academy.
which
That's right.
which is probably one of the most like aesthetic gyms that I've ever like
Really.
seen. It's a very very pretty gym, very very nice, and there's an awesome crew there. No, but I'm still training at Dominance MMA. I train at the one mostly in Abbotsford, but I train between there and Absolute as well in St Kilda with Liv and Lockie, which is really fun, which
Oh,
is
yeah,
awesome
cool.
to be on the mats with them. And Alliance and Levi also on the mats. There's a massive crew there. There's a really good team there as well.
Yeah, what a
But if
level.
I'm yeah, it's good to be on the mats with that.
Yeah, I bet that's just, iron sharpens iron, as they say. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And if I'm not at Dominance and if I'm not at Abbotsford, then I'm over in America in San Diego training at Athos as well.
How good. And the next time you can hire your own car. So,
Next time I can hire my own car, thank the Lord.
that's so funny. I remember thinking the same thing though. That's why I laughed because I was like, "Ooh, I'm old enough." Um,
I feel like I'm more excited to turn 25 than I was to turn 21 or than I was to turn 18. I'm like the benefits you get of turning 25 seem really really small, but like they make a difference.
oh yeah, for sure. Especially if you're traveling around a lot. I remember when I turned, must have been 30 or 32, and it was the cutoff age to go to Canada. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, and I was devastated. Like
Wait,
for
the cutoff age to go to
oh,
Canada.
it must have been for a like a tourist visa or something.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
I was
I was
like,
gonna say, does Canada just not allow people over the age of what, 32 to
yeah,
visit them even? They're like,
just yeah,
nah,
nah, not allowed in.
32, that's it. You're not allowed in.
How funny. What a great place to go if you're young, though. That was the
Oh,
case.
Yeah, Canada seems cool. It seems cold, but it seems cool. I need to
Yeah.
go because Brianna St. Marie's there and she's one of my best mates. So
Oh,
she's been
cool.
telling me I got to visit, so I have to go visit.
Yeah, definitely. I've only ever gone to the Niagara Falls, and I literally just drove across the border, looked at the Niagara Falls. I think I had a burger and then went back to the States.
Drove back. You're like, yep, I saw it.
Yeah,
Done. Tick it off.
kicked me out because I was 32 probably.
Yeah.
Um, so I've got some questions here
Hmm.
the Instagram people. Um,
Yes.
but first of all,
Instagram people's questions scare me.
yeah, it's like
They always ask the funniest questions.
oh my gosh, sometimes I'm feeling spicy, so I'll go to my message requests folder, just see
Yep.
what's sitting in there.
See what's lurking in there. Yep,
Oh
absolutely.
God. And the comments too. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, maybe actually first of all, talk me through the ADCC wins. Yeah, let's like talk me through them. How was the build up? How was your prep? And then obviously the actual match.
No, the prep was exactly what it needed to be. We were just kind of ticking off things that we needed to do in the lead up for ADCC. So we were ticking off what we needed to do on the training mats and the skill progression that needed to be done there. And, sharpening all the tools in the inventory, making sure I was going in there feeling very well rounded. So top player, bottom player, leg entanglement, wrestling, whatever it was going to be. I wanted to make sure that I was really well rounded and not taken by surprise in any particular position.
Cool.
So that was something that was really important for us. Anytime I say us, I have a massive team behind me of people that played a massive part in my training camp. So the guys obviously here in Melbourne at Dominance, Dave Hart and the guys at Absolute, Lockie and Liv, they were a big part of the training. But most of the training camp was run by a guy called Jake O'Driscoll, who, funny enough, is from Perth. But he was a massive part of just planning everything out. So anytime I reference we, there's a
Yeah.
massive team that kind of sits behind me. It feels wrong to say I did this, I did this. It's very much a we thing.
That's very
But
cool of you to like recognize that, like yeah.
it takes a village. It honest to God takes a village, and the village that I have around me is full of people that I absolutely love and adore, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. So I'm very, very lucky in that way.
Yeah, that's so cool to hear. So humbling, so humble of you, like you're obviously like the athlete and you went out there and did the work, but I love that you're appreciating the people in the background that sort of help you on your way.
Oh, endlessly. I appreciate them endlessly because there's a lot of things going on that people don't see. And, at the start of this, we were just talking about Instagram and how the information that gets put out there is very, very specific. It's very, what would you call it?
I think it's just very curated. Very,
Curated. Exactly. Very,
Mhm.
very curated.
Yeah.
So some of these things people don't see behind the scenes, and it is anytime I get an opportunity to tell people and give people a bit of a peek behind the curtains, I definitely want to take that opportunity to be like, hey, this is cool, but also over here, people are working really hard to help me get the things that you see on Instagram.
Yeah, and that's so cool because like I think a lot of people also don't understand the level that goes into something like winning the ADCC, like the commitment and the dedication from, like you said, you, but also from your team, from all of your
Mm.
coaches and everyone to sort of get to that point. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's not to be
No,
taken lightly.
no, no, not at all. It was a big build up. So the camp went really well. We kind of were ticking boxes through the camp, did a few matches in the lead up, and approached those matches in a very specific way just to make sure that, again, by the time ADCC swung around, we are in the position that we needed to be in. And then, like the few days or a few weeks in the lead up to ADCC, we were really just sharpening things, making sure that I was going in there uninjured, that I was going in there like in good physical condition, not pushing things too much, but kind of riding that line.
Yeah.
And then when ADCC did swing around, I felt ready. When we were doing the weigh-ins the day before, everything was planned out to make sure I made weight and could rehydrate very well, and all those little nuanced details were
Yeah.
very well planned out. So I was feeling very much ready to go by the time I got out there.
That's so cool. Yeah. So talk us through your match. Do you have any like pre-match rituals or like anything you do before you run on, you know?
I'm very superstitious.
Cool.
Super duper superstitious about a lot of things. And there's
Super
like
duper
certain
superstitious.
things. Super duper superstitious, absolutely. There's like little things that a lot of my family members and my coaches and everybody around me, they know these things and they get these things ready. Like I have to have a banana and a blue Powerade with me when I'm competing. Can't be a blue Gatorade, has to be a blue Powerade. Don't ask me why. It doesn't make any sense. They're the same thing,
The
but it
superstition.
is. Superstitions, it has to be like, black underwear and a certain jewelry needs to be with me and just all these like little things that make zero sense,
Yeah,
but they make me feel
that's all
more
right though.
comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of like little things in the lead up. The warm up stays more or less exactly the same. You'll see me do the same kind of movements when I'm on the edge of the mat just before I'm about to step on. That stays pretty consistent. Like all those little things that just kind of get me in that frame of mind to get out there and be ready to perform. Some people listen to music, some people meditate. I go through a particular warm up and that makes me feel very ready and switched on and puts me in that you know
Yeah.
focused mindset.
In that zone. No, that's really cool. I really like that. Like the consistency of it.
Mm.
I completely understand sort of where you're coming from. You've just reminded me, I had a good question here. I'm just going to bring
Mhm.
it up because I don't think I wrote it down, which is a bit annoying. Where is she? It was around mindset and if there is,
Mhm.
any particular things that you do in order to prepare for competitions when it comes to your mindset.
Mhm. I think a lot of the comfort that I feel towards like the pointy end of the training camp, like when I'm about to step on the mat, comes from the preparation and the planning out that's been done in the training camp.
Yeah.
So what I don't want to do is get to a position where I'm on the edge of the mat wishing that I would have done more. I think that's something that's very like undervalued, is making sure that you're writing out things and planning out things so that you feel like you haven't missed anything.
Yeah.
But for me, I've taken it's taken a long time for me to be in the right kind of. We talked like a lot about like arousal levels, where you can be like over aroused, where you're a little bit too sporadic, maybe anxious, high heart rate, things like that, a little bit too anxious. Or you can be under aroused, where you're feeling a little bit heavy, a little bit lethargic. For me, I sit in that over aroused kind of area where
Yeah.
I get a bit too amped up. I get a bit too jittery and a bit too like intense. And the more jittery I get, the worse I compete because
Yeah.
I start gassing out. I start overthinking. Everything's happening too fast. It's too much. The input
Yeah.
is just too much. So some of the warm up is to bring that down to make sure it's cruising at a little bit more of a um a range where I can kind of maintain that for a longer amount of
Yeah.
time and
Bit more
things aren't
manageable.
overwhelming. Yeah, exactly. Where things just aren't overwhelming, overstimulating. So like controlling that can be really important, but it's taken me a long time. I think
Yeah,
competition is a practice skill. I don't think it's
for sure.
I don't believe the mindset of you either have it or you don't. I
Yeah.
think there are some people that may have a better ability naturally to deal with some of the pressures that come from competition and vice versa. But I still think that it's a practice skill and it's all these little things can be manipulated to kind of peak your own performance.
Yeah, and like what you need individually as well. I think that's
100%.
yeah, that's really interesting because I don't know what I was watching the other day, but it was someone talking about practicing competitions.
Mm,
If you have a big competition coming up, practice and just do as many competitions as you can now to sort of, I guess, learn how to regulate your own nervous system in a way that works best for you.
100%. I like, especially smaller competitions. That's the time where you get to experiment because you have nothing to lose. That's the time where you're practicing how you wake up in the morning, what you eat for breakfast, what music you listen to. All those competitions is an opportunity to data collect what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
So you take as many of those opportunities and you start to kind of tweak these things here and there, and then data collect on how you felt. Like, how did you perform? How was your warm up? How was your nutrition? Were you
Yeah.
drinking enough water? Like, actually paying attention to how you feel and how these things impact you is what's going to lead to a better performance next time.
And that makes so much sense, if you think about
Mm.
it logically, like you practice something and you just get better at it, whatever the thing is, as long
Yeah.
as you're listening to the signs and the cues, I guess, along the way. Um,
Yeah, 100%. I think data collection in jiu-jitsu in general is something that's just underused. I tell this to my guys. So I coach quite a bit. And in the coaching sessions that I do at the end of most classes, we do 5 5-minute rounds. So we do our rolling rounds. It's about 5 of them, about 5 minutes. And at the end of the 5 minute rounds, I'll ask a bunch of the guys, I say, hey, what happened in your first round? What were some of the exchanges? What were the points? Like, where were you at? And they go, oh, I don't know. How am I supposed to remember? It was, 30
Fine.
minutes ago. I said, yeah, but if you're not data collecting from that first round, how are you going to make adjustments in your second, third, fourth, fifth, and your rounds tomorrow? People, and it just depends on how fast you want to get better at a particular skill. It's the equivalent of like if you do university,
Hmm.
going home and studying versus not going home and studying, like taking in the information versus not, data collecting.
Yeah.
You do
Yeah.
a round and you pay attention to what's working and what's not. You make adjustments in the following round.
Yeah.
And then after that, you find out what adjustments work better or worse. And then you adjust it in the third round or the fourth round or the fifth round. It's all
Yeah.
data collection.
Such a great way of looking at your matches at the end of your sessions, you know. Do you
Mm.
do you have a journal? Like have you been someone who finishes your class or whatever and you go down, you write whatever you need to write to help learn?
Sometimes I'm less so of a journal person, more so of like actively making the adjustment straight away or
Yep.
feeling out the adjustment straight away. So if I go through some rounds and there's something that I'm unsure about, after the class is over, I'll grab the person that I'm having the problem with and I'll be like, hey, can I just tweak some things and can I feel some things and can you tell me what you're doing here and get that instant feedback? And, jujitsu is all about stealing things. Somebody is doing something good. I'm going to take that and I'm now going to do it because it's a good thing. It works.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do. That's why you have a mat full of people. You're not going to be able to invent everything, but you can see somebody that does something well and you can take that and use that. That's the whole point of instructionals. It's the whole point of,
Yeah.
passing on knowledge in the first place. You're just stealing what other people have either made up or improved or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
So at the end of classes, I'll just grab people and make those adjustments straight away.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool way
Mm,
of doing it if you have access to be able to do that. That's very cool.
mm.
I found the question. So she
Yes.
wanted to know mental preparation, which we sort of pretty much covered.
Mhm.
She had a lot of questions actually. This is Raylene. So Ray, if you listen, these are your questions.
Yep.
She wants to know if we're gonna see you back in the gi anytime soon.
I'll be very happy to announce I am going to be back in the gi. I'm actually planning on doing the gi season next year. So most of the IBJJF majors, the only one that I'm a little bit unsure about at this point is Euros, and that's just because it falls near my mum's birthday, and I don't want to be a terrible child and miss my mum's birthday. So I'm just going to have to see how that lands.
Yeah, okay.
But if I can get there, I think it's in Portugal. If I can get there, then I will. Other than that, I plan on hitting Pans. I plan on hitting Brazilian nationals in the gi, and I plan on hitting worlds in the gi. That's the plan at this
Cool.
stage.
And so obviously I'm going to ask, what do you prefer, gi or no gi?
Well, it's an unpopular opinion. I think gi is harder. I think gi is very, very difficult. And that's not to say I don't think no gi is difficult. No gi is very difficult as well. Um, I just think gi is particularly intricate. There's a little bit more things at play. I go through phases about which one I actually like more. If I'm deep into a no gi season, then I'll say that I really miss gi. But if I'm deep into a gi season, then I'll
Yeah,
say that I really miss no gi. So
yeah.
you just can't win. You
Yeah.
you you miss what you don't have.
Yeah, true. I definitely, I mean, my level of jujitsu is about like this compared to your level of jujitsu, but I definitely prefer gi. And I don't know if it's just because I'm a little bit older than most of the people in my thing, so it's a bit slower.
Yeah, yes, yeah. It is slower. It is like grab and hold and
Yeah,
less things are moving all the time because you can kind of just
exactly.
wrap people up and tie them up.
And a bit more technical and yeah, exactly. You
Yeah.
can use lapels and things like that to sort of help
Mm.
help an old gal like me out anyway. Um, I'm just going to go through Ray's questions. I've got more, but we'll carry on with hers. She was
Ah,
wondering if you
amazing.
got any instructionals in the works.
I do actually. Funny enough, I'm kind of like looking past my camera right now at the laptop that's sitting behind my camera, that is full of instructionals that I'm editing and making sure that they look very pretty,
Nice, nice.
and sound very good, so that they're a little bit easier to listen to, and we can get all the information that everybody needs off them. But I am editing a bunch of different courses. Some of the courses will run through Submeta, so keep an eye on the Submeta space. That's like a little announcement.
Yeah.
But some of them, there are some things coming on BJJ Fanatics in the near future as well. So there's
Oh,
some stuff being released into a bunch of spaces. But yeah, there's plenty of instructionals coming.
awesome. So Submeta and BJJ Fanatics. Look out.
Hmm.
Cool. Now the other questions.
Yes.
Oh, who was your hardest role or like your hardest opponent to date?
Uh, so I'll start by saying everybody has their challenges. Like every person who I've rolled is like have their own puzzle to solve, and some puzzles can be harder in certain ways, and it changes what's difficult. Some opponents are bigger and stronger, so that's a harder element of the puzzle. Some opponents are really good at the point system, so that's a hard thing. Some opponents are really good at the submission game, so that's a hard thing. And there's lots of different things at play. One of the matches that I really wanted for a while, and I knew was going to be really difficult and really challenging for me, was a match with Maisa Bastos. So I'd fought her in the gi and come decently close, but just didn't get it by the skin of my teeth, and then really wanted it in the no-gi and managed to get the win in the no-gi. But she's incredible. Like she's everything that you see it when you see her compete. She's very technical, very
Yeah.
strategic. She knows the game better than almost anybody else. So that was a very, very tough match. But also was I probably felt very emotional after that match because I had self-belief and I just wanted to prove that I could do it.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. And do you think it's because, like, would you say that you find a difficult match would be someone who is like closely related to your game in the way that you play jiu-jitsu, so you find it more difficult to, you know, get
It's
around them, I suppose?
it's interesting. Like, yes, I know that if they have a game similar to mine, that they are a difficult puzzle to kind of undo. That if I make a mistake, then they're going to capitalize on those mistakes. So it's very much like don't make the mistake. But I also, on the flip side of things, find them the most satisfying puzzles to undo because they have a game like mine. I enjoy doing very intellectual jujitsu, very like cognitive, thoughtful jujitsu. Don't get me wrong, I love a good scrap. I love tough jujitsu and being rough and all that kind of stuff. But I really like intricate jujitsu, the pretty jujitsu that you see, the inverting stuff and the like specific leg pummeling and leg entanglement or the upper body fights, like that kind of stuff. I find very satisfying. So that's also why I really enjoyed the match with Maisa because there was some of that going on, lots of strategical things.
That's very cool. Yeah, it's definitely very nice to watch, technical jiu-jitsu. It's yeah, just very nice to watch, I think anyway. Um, okay, I have a question from someone that was he wants some tips on your Choi bar entry from half guard. Now, being a subpar blue belt myself, I had to Google what a Choi bar was. So, so yeah, if you've got any tips, we all could benefit, I think.
I definitely have tips. I think the main thing with Choi bars is the more you can make your partner overcommit the far arm that you're attacking, the better it's going to be. So comboing things with opposing directions. So if I'm attacking the arm that's on the right hand side, well, if I just kind of go to tunnel vision on that, they're probably going to keep it really far away from me. So I'm going to pretend like I'm attacking the one on the left hand side. When they start defending that left hand side, the right hand side is going to be more available. So that's kind of how I like to play. But on the flip side of that, if I start attacking the left hand side and they don't defend the left hand side, well, I'm going to take the left hand side. So opposing attacks is going to be something that's really useful to make them overcommit and make that Choi bar entry a lot easier. For me, I don't gable grip at the back of the shoulder to get my Choi bars. A lot of the time I go like two hooking grips on like one high up towards the shoulder and one a little bit lower on the elbow. I find that gives me better control and a better ability to kind of rotate the shoulder so it sits in the
under.
Exactly. You can kind of reach through that hooking grip and get to the back of your partner's tricep in the armpit and spin their arm a little bit more. The beautiful part about a Choi bar is like you're attaching to a ball and socket joint, so you can rotate it quite well, but you have to have a hook deep enough that you can get that rotation in the shoulder that you're looking for. So that's something that's really useful. And then as soon as that foot comes over, it's just a matter of like making sure you stay attached to the back of their tricep and just being really patient from there. Because when you're there, they know they're in danger. If you get too excited and just start opening up too much, you're probably going to lose it. So staying tight, being patient, staying attached, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. That's just a general good tip, I think. Uh, be patient.
Patience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
something I've
sure.
only just learned. And the
But
last
choy
one,
bars will be coming in the instructionals. Don't worry.
oh,
Choy bars
really?
will be in the instructionals.
There you
Yes,
go. So,
absolutely.
person whose name I forget on the internet, there you go. The toy bars are coming.
They're coming. They're coming.
I should have written his name down. And
That's all right.
then we're going to run out of time on the old
Mhm.
Zoom. So we'll
Mm.
finish with Beck wanted to know some tips for rolling as a small person.
100%. This is a problem that not a problem because I don't want to like rolling as a small person is not a problem. It's just something that you need to manage.
Yep.
But I, in my earlier belts, probably didn't go about it the correct way, and I just tried to prove myself every day on the mats and didn't care if I was smaller, led to injuries, all that kind of stuff. And I just look back on that and can understand that it was a little bit silly of me doing it that way. I think open communication is just going to be the key to safe rolling
Mm.
and a happier environment and a safer environment. If somebody is bigger and rolling silly, tell them because they probably don't understand that they're
Yeah.
rolling silly. They probably don't understand that they're rolling dangerous. So having that conversation is really important. At the flip side of that, if there's somebody that's bigger and they're rolling too light, you can also inform them that they're rolling too light or being too easy or being too nice
Yeah.
and tell them, hey, you can dial it up a little bit, but also if you dial it up too much, don't worry, I will tell you, I'll let you know if I ever feel uncomfortable, if I ever feel unsafe.
Yeah.
So those open communications are really important. Rolling with smaller people as well. If a 120 kilo person comes up to you and says, hey, do you want to roll? And it's somebody that you don't feel safe with rolling, it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
I don't know where this feeling has come from, or where this understanding has come from that it's rude to say no to somebody to do a roll.
Yeah.
It's not. And if they take it as a negative, that more so reflects on them than it does on you. It's not it's not inappropriate. It's not rude. It's not disrespectful to say no if you do not feel safe to have a roll with somebody. It is within your right. So if there is somebody that you do not feel safe rolling, just say no. It's okay.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're both really great tips because I do think that sometimes you feel whatever you feel bad or like you're
Mm,
supposed to or something, especially if maybe you're not you've only been doing jujitsu for a little while, maybe you don't really
mm,
understand that you can say no. And the
mm,
communication thing I think is just so important because everyone is at a different stage all the time and has had a
mm.
different day and is there for different reasons and so the communication thing I think is yeah.
I
So,
think communication is king. I had a conversation with a teammate today about it, and we're in the pro class, and I asked her to do a roll, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm just not rolling very hard today. So I don't want to waste your time." And I said, "No, no, no, that's fine. It's okay to tell me that you're not rolling hard today, and it's within my right to say, if you're not rolling hard and I want a hard round, I'm going to go find somebody else, and that needs to be okay."
yeah.
But if I accept the fact that you've said you're doing a lighter rolling session today, and I say, okay, let's do a roll, I've accepted that. And I need to now respect that as we do our roll, where I'm not just going to try and beat the living daylights out of this person. I'm going to roll at their pace. And that's and she's my size, but that's just open communication with your teammates. Then
Yeah,
that way everybody's happy, everybody feels safe, nobody's getting injured. And
exactly.
sometimes it can just be as simple as that.
Yeah. And like you got to look after your teammates because you can't do jujitsu without them. So, you
Yes,
know,
exactly.
you have to trust each other. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. Let me have a look, see if there's any more cool ones. Be good if I could read my own handwriting. Um, I didn't write them all down. So, yeah, if is there anything else that you'd like to add? Any like tips for anyone who is, who has aspirations to make it to the ADCC? Let's finish up on that and give your top tips for those people.
My top tips would be stay consistent. It's very easy to be motivated and train when you feel motivated. It's
Mm.
really hard to train and get good quality sessions in when you're feeling not so motivated. So I think consistency is going to be key. Keeping a group of people around you, your training partners, your coaches, that you, number one, respect and trust, so that when they're giving you advice, you actually take on board that advice, I think is really important. It makes you feel a whole lot less alone out there. It makes you not carry the burden of needing to do everything all at once.
Yeah.
Um, so having a really good group of people around you is going to be really important, but also just understanding that it comes with its ups and downs. It's not going to be all winning all the time. You're going to cop some losses here and there. You just got to ride that wave and learn from the experiences and then come back stronger and better.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I think the consistency thing, so important for any skill-based activity that you're trying, or anything that you're trying to make progress in, really. Consistency is
Yeah.
going to be your best friend for sure.
Yep, 100%.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me, Adele. That was awesome. Did you have any special shout outs or anything that you wanted to say before we go?
I always have shout outs, but I always miss people. That's the problem when I do shout outs. I definitely want to shout out my partner Nev. She's, the brains behind everything. I say it all the time. She honestly is the brains behind the operation, but she's incredible and a massive part of my team. My manager Sarah, who makes me understand how to adult a little bit better, and make sure that I don't miss things, and is just always looking out for me. My parents, who've been endlessly amazing. All my sponsors. So I want to say massive thank you to Blackmagic for providing me with all kind of my tape and all my recovery needs. Bulletproof Jiu-Jitsu, who do my strength and conditioning program, and they have a really amazing app that makes it super easy to do that. Midnyte City, who's a tech company who is supporting me so that I can kind of achieve my goals. I'm always going to miss BJJ Lawyer, who's been an absolute whiz at setting up my visas and anything international that I need to do. He's been a massive help. Obviously, Hyperfly, who I'm rocking all the time, and their gear is unbiasedly some of the best gear in the circuit. I think that their leggings are incredible. I live in these leggings. You guys can't see them, but I live in them. I'm always going to miss somebody the problem is I'll just keep going. The fight dietitian, who makes sure I never miss weight, and he has a lot of really good information online, actually, through his Instagram. So if you're ever curious and want to look through some of his stuff, he's got some cool stuff. The fight dietitian. Yep. So he has a lot of free content on Instagram, but he works with people like Volkanovski and Israel Adesanya, some of the UFC athletes, and just really knowledgeable, like very research based. No fad diets, completely cut out sugar and carbs and all that. Just everything in moderation. And there's some cool videos that he does where he actually takes you through the diet of some of these UFC fighters before, during, and after they cut weight. So you can actually see that they still eat normally. They just eat a little bit different.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, it is. It's good to know that you don't just need to be miserable and unhappy when you're cutting weight.
Yes, definitely.
But yeah,
cool.
All the people to thank, all the people.
Yeah, the village, as you say.
The village, exactly, 100%.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm sure myself and everyone else looks forward to seeing what's next for you and just following your journey. It's amazing to watch. Like, I personally love it. Inspirational.
I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll chat to you soon.
I will. You too. Bye.
Bye.